I received a comment, a very interesting one. A woman named Yulia wrote to me, saying that I want to look like her, that my face is similar to hers. She looks at me and sees herself. In my opinion, of course, we are different, but that's just my view. But in her opinion, we actually look very much alike. She says, you choose filters that are like the ones I use. Thank you, Yulia. I really want to say thank you so much for the thoughtful way you approached this whole filter question and all that. I truly appreciate your perspective on this matter. No, what I want to do is, maybe sometime soon I'll get plastic surgery. And I'll be even more beautiful. Did you think I was all about being natural or something? No. When the time comes and you realize you're the same age as the Eiffel Tower, what's the point? Why should I be all about being natural? I don't eat meat, right? I don't eat meat. What else? No, I do drink milk, friends. I make cottage cheese myself. I go to the farm for milk and make cottage cheese myself. Yes. Right now, of course, I could just lighten the mood a bit. Thank you, Yulia, for such a nice comment. I appreciated your position and, let's say, those maybe slightly sarcastic notes directed at me. What I want to say, friends, is that people, of course, in our world, they don't understand it, but they are connected to each other by various bonds. Bonds of certain energies, maybe something else. But of course, we can be the same, we can be similar. What's more, we might even have somewhere deep down the same relatives we know nothing about. Look, all our names and the names of our cities have been mixed up for us. And what used to have one name before now goes by some other name. And by the way, the names from the 1930s don't match those from the 1960s, and by the 1990s, a lot of things had changed altogether. Isn't that right? But all of this is a normal phenomenon meant to completely confuse your minds so that you never figure it out. The city, Karasu Bazaar, which is located in Crimea. Karasu Bazaar. Zar, right? That's what? Zoroastrians, right? They have Tsar, in Zoroastrian. So Karasu Bazaar is a city. It's the city of Belogorsk in Crimea. At one point, they returned the name Karasu Bazaar to the city. They brought the name back. That was in 94, I think. 94. That's when I saw it. And all the signs, those blue city markers, were hanging up. And now they're still there. Something remains, but it's at the entrance to the city if you drive in. From the Feodosia side, you can still read that name there. But otherwise, no, friends. They're trying to erase everything. And just like that, as if out of nowhere, they say there were Crimean Tatars. Where did they come from, the Crimean Tatars? Tell me, what is that even supposed to mean? Yes, there were never any Crimean Tatars. There were peoples who lived there. Peoples. Those peoples. Well, they had nothing to do with it, not in any way, not even halfway. They have nothing to do with the Crimean Tatars, because where are the Tatars? Oh, where are they? Yes, in Tatarstan. Well, they just went and made up the Crimean Tatars. Stalin said they're all the same, and lumped everyone together, all in one basket. But the Karaites, they didn't lump in with the rest, but everyone else was fair game. That's why the Karaites stand off to the side. To be honest. But the Karaites, too, friends, have lost everything. They've lost it all. They had synagogues or something like that. How do you know what kind of synagogues the Karaites had? Or maybe the Jews borrowed from the Karaites. This religiosity, for example? Everything was completely different. But that's how they tell us, and we're supposed to believe it. None of it makes any sense. Finis the Bright Falcon. Do you remember the fairy tale? It was my favorite fairy tale when I was a child. I always imagined how she wore out those iron shoes, traveling to the ends of the earth, to the faraway kingdom, searching for her Finis the Bright Falcon. But you won't find a real fairy tale like that anymore. And all the fairy tales have had their wings clipped, too. They just don't sound the way they used to. It's good if you still have the old fairy tales left. But since all of us are still migrating back and forth, peoples, families... Take Chukotka, for example. You see, I read Fennis the Bright Falcon in Chukotka. But my entire settlement, Shakhterski, by a federal decree in 2005, everything was bombed, destroyed, or rather burned down. The enemies burned down my native home and deprived me of my homeland. So my settlement was burned down in 2005. The settlement was burned and nothing was left. And as for my books, I don't know where they are either, because my parents kept moving back and forth. And when your luggage isn't that big, right? Are you really going to carry those books with you? No, that's what friends are for. In fact, that's what all of this is designed for, so that no one will drag books or anything else along with them. That's how everyone kept moving across the land, because our lives toss us back and forth like that. The year 2026 will be a difficult year, a harsh year. But at the same time, there will be many victims, many sacrifices. Minced meat, minced meat, minced meat. Marches, meat grinders. Everyone will be ground up, turned into meat. In Russia, there probably isn't much left of Russian men anymore. I think soon there won't be any left at all. Why should women have to suffer? The Chinese will come to replace them, just like it happened 100 years ago. The Chinese came as replacements. What about the Indians? What kind of Indian guard is that? They're planning to resettle 5 million Indians in Russia. But why not? Once they were resettled in Georgia, and Georgia turned dark. Instead of a white Georgian, we got a black one. With a hairy chest, hair on their arms and back. And these are already different Georgians. These aren't Mingrelians, these are completely different Georgians. Although Georgia, that hospitality, they still have it. I've never been to Georgia, I can tell you that right away. But from what I read, from what I see, the hospitality, people are delighted. Yes, it's really true. I haven't experienced it myself, so I can't say anything. This is the kind of situation where we're all being made out to be black. People in Russia are getting darker. That's why all the men are there. And during World War II, in the years 1942 to 44, what was happening in Siberia? And Siberia was densely populated. All the men were sent to the front. There, to Brest, right? Let them fight there. And here, everything was stripped bare. Men were hiding out in the taida, in the forest. But there were some who betrayed them, who sold them out. They would report, Fatka's over there. And Monka would go to him by boat. They persecuted the women. The women were already walking around pregnant. A man is a man. Life must go on. The family line must continue. That's how they destroyed all of Siberia. In 44, they destroyed the men. They destroyed families, SS troops would come in. There was a major headquarters on the Kola Peninsula and in Yakutia. Understand? The history of World War II is completely different. It's a story you don't know. Study it if anyone wants to, but never shout that, no, this couldn't have happened. Who are you to shout such things? And who are those who? They make your history for you. I am Tanya Karatsuba Said Burkhan. Today, January 5th,